Our good friend Bob is a moderator at Interior Weather and Wilderness Watchers and also the head of Quesnel Search and Rescue. What does he always say? He always says, never give up, never stop searching for them. And this is why, because sometimes you find them way after the fact, sure, but sometimes they do turn up, sometimes they are found. So we're going to talk about a 39-year-old man from Williams Lake that went missing and some of the things around it. All right, let's go.
There it is. Can you take it out?
I'll watch the video later. They try mopping this. Oh yeah, you're watching Cariboo Weather Dude YouTube channel. Joey only sitting up here in the mountains, Wells, BC, 3,953 feet above sea level in my chair of infinite knowledge, friends. Here to talk to you about stories of the weather and the wilderness out there. Here's this story. Let's check it out. First of all, the video on Global.
And sometimes they're not the right ones.
When
You got to
Andrew
make
Barber
certain
set out to
decisions.
find
Sometimes
his
they're not
missing
the right
dog
ones.
Nico on July 28th, he had no idea it would turn into a fight for his life. Trouble started when his truck broke down on a remote Forest Service road near Williams Lake.
But I come to realize that the rear tire of my truck was popped.
Originally from Ontario,
Oh,
Barber
pop
is
tire,
no stranger
originally
to
from
the wild,
Ontario.
But the Cariboo's extreme heat took its toll. Hoping to find help, the 39-year-old set out on foot, quickly becoming disoriented. As the hours dragged on, he ran out of water, shedding his boots, then his shirt. At night, the heat gave way to biting cold, dropping temperatures that turned survival into a battle against the elements.
You're waking up shivering. I'm stuffing hay and grass in my pants to insulate.
Stuffing hay in your
But
pants.
when the sun's finally peeking out, you know, you're going out and laying in the sun trying to warm up a little bit. You know, I took the elastic out of my underwear to try and make a bowstring to start a fire.
Barber
Oh
says
my
at
God.
times he lost hope and even his grip on reality. For nearly 2 weeks, he faced the unforgiving wilderness. Then a glint of sunlight on his windshield caught a rescuer's eye, a shimmer of glass that became his lifeline to a helicopter.
You stand by a
That's
rock
one
with
reason to
the
stay near your
SOS
vehicle.
written on it in mud. So they went in and picked him up, and he was in pretty weak condition. It's not known if he would have made another 24 hours because all he'd survived on was just some water, pond water.
Now in hospital on antibiotics, Barber is recovering from sunstroke, a dislocated toe, and severe fatigue. He has nothing but praise for RCMP, Quesnel Search and Rescue, and his medical team.
It really makes you appreciate humanity.
When hope was fading fast,
Yeah, they're great.
strangers came to light his way home like a beacon in the wild.
Oh boy, this is tough. I was referring to Bob Hollowinkle, by the way, not Bob Zimmerman. Two different managers at Quesnel Search and Rescue. Nonetheless, let's dissect this story a little bit. I'm not trying to make fun of you, buddy, not explicitly. Well, let's talk about it all the same. 2 weeks in the wilderness drinking pond water. Yeah, not good at all. You don't want to drink that stuff because if what'll happen, you start drinking water that gives you beaver fever, giardia, you are at risk of shitting yourself, becoming more dehydrated as it is out there. So first of all, I mean, you're going to have to get water somehow. Yeah, sure. I mean, it's ideal if you could boil water, but apparently he doesn't have fire. He's trying to make a bowstring, use a bowstring from his underwear to start a fire. So like one tip of advice, even though if you're not smokers, I know a lot of you aren't smokers. Those of us who are smokers, we have one leg up on you is that we always have fire on us. In fact, I got a bunch of different lighters stashed in my truck in case, because I don't want to get out there and be trying to like cut firewood or something and then suddenly not be able to light a dart when it's time to have a break and stop sweating, right? So multiple sources of fire. Fire does many things for you. What does it do? Well, you can check here on some of my videos above on the, what would you call that? That's the Wilderness Adventures of Joey Only playlist to see some of the things I do. Ways of finding water. It's tough country out in that part of the Cariboo, I'll tell you that. It's pretty flat. But there is water to be found. You may have to go looking for it. But looking for things didn't go well for this person. And what we got to say, too, is that sometimes people don't have the sense of direction, and they're not going to. If you don't have a really advanced sense of direction, you better stay near that vehicle. If you're like myself and like always know which direction you're facing and which way is what and what's going on, you should make a break for it if you can get to the right place and try to find water on the way. Sure, that's all reasonable. It didn't go so well for this guy trying to find his way out, but he didn't have fire either. And fire gives you many things. It gives you light, right? It gives you heat. It gives you something to do. It can cook food. It can keep animals away from you. It can, of course, make you warm. And also, it can alert rescuers as to where your location is, because they can see in the nighttime there's a fire out there burning. So make sure you have fire. Now, I know if there's a campfire ban going on and you're at risk of dying in the wilderness, you're going to have to make that fire, right? And risk whatever the consequences are with the authorities. So they find you with a campfire. They'll be like, well, at least we found you. I'm not saying you should be making fires out there in the wilderness. I'm just saying an extreme survival situation is its own thing. And there was no campfire ban in the Cariboo at that time anyway, so it's kind of irrelevant. So Barbara recently moved from Ontario. And I mean, some of us grew up in pretty rough parts of Ontario, but a lot of people didn't. So like, this is a common trope in BC. Like, oh, someone went missing. He's from Ontario. Let's not judge him for that. Welcome to British Columbia. Welcome to the Cariboo. We're glad you're okay. So his truck tire popped on a Forest Service road, so make sure you have the right gear to change your tire out there. And I'm speaking from experience. If you recall last September when I had a tire pop about 60 kilometers outside of Wells, I did a lot of walking before Bart and them came and rescued me, as they just happened to be coming back from a mountain climbing adventure out here. So I've had these things happen, but again, I knew exactly where I was and how to get out of there. And I knew, hey, if I just walk hard all night, I'll get back to Wells. So I took that risk knowing there was a moon that night. He became disoriented due to the heat and lost on his way back to the truck. So that's especially bad. Make sure you have water for you, and end up in a fight for his life, and it could have been worse than it was. So it says here heat stroke became a definite factor, but that's not the case. Heat stroke is a rapid transit category condition. It is a life debilitating situation you're in. Your life is at risk if you have heat stroke. So heat exhaustion, yeah, it sounds like he had heat exhaustion, had it bad. So heat exhaustion, which is not heat stroke, is a lot of people make that mistake, but it's important for rescuers to know. If you call a rescuer and say, my patient has heat stroke, they're like bells and whistles. Oh no, get everything moving. If you're like, he has heat exhaustion, okay, can you get them some water? This isn't a case obviously of that, but this nonetheless, let's get the definitions correct on that. The bush all seems to look the same, make sure you have a compass with you or a GPS, or you're aware of, the location you're in, or make sure that you're aware of where the sun is through the day and where things are moving and what the sun is like at different times of year. The sun's angle at different times of year will give you a different experience in late June than it will at the end of August, right? So here in BC, everything's got quite a distance between it. I knew I wasn't very far, but everything's got quite a distance between it. That's correct. That's right. And if you could have got to the Fraser River, there's roads there, so that would have been good. He didn't want to drink the water, but he had no choice. And fair enough, maybe he had no choice. And then it's a turn of events where, one day turns into many nights. 1 to 2 days is extensive. But when you get to 7, 8, 9 days without any food or water, nobody in sight, there's no calling for help. Yeah, that's really bad. Here's some things. Don't do this. He removed his socks when they became packed with mud and tried to walk out in his socks. I mean, this is bad stuff, okay? This is making bad decisions. And what happens, too, is you get too much heat, you get disoriented. And when you get disoriented or you start panicking or... you just keep making bad mistake after bad mistake, which at the time seemed reasonable, but they all add up. We'll continue here. He did a big 20-kilometer circle and ended up at the same pond. That is insane. That is ridiculous. I'm sure it wasn't 20 kilometers, but I'm sure it was a big, big circle, right? So this is an example of knowing your directions and where you are in the wilderness at any given time. Like, I try to make a compensation for that, what I call the meandering effect of walking. As you're going over logs and stumps and things, you're gradually, coming off your trajectory a little bit. Well, you have to keep compensating for that and readjusting to come back more in line with the direction you want to go, So you try to pick a direction and try to make that, no matter which way you're going, the direction you're moving. If you have a compass, or if you are paying attention to what side of the rocks is the moss growing on, there's ways out there. You'll know, experienced wilderness people like myself can generally tell even in a rainy day if they're facing on the north aspect or the south aspect of a slope. Very flat country out there, though, and that is disorienting as well, because I found this growing up in the flats of Ontario, that it's just like endless wilderness and swamp across the road from my mom's place, and there's no mountain to look at for a reference point. And I do find that's really helpful in the BC mountains here. Like, no matter where I go, I look out and I can like see, well, there's a sliding mountain over there. Well, there's Two Sisters. Well, there's, and that really does help us have a good grasp on where we are at any given time. So the flat country can be disoriented, and the days drag on. Unrelenting heat. We did have that warm spell right around then. He was worried if anyone was going to find him, and yeah, you should be worried about that in that case. But he stayed put, which worked for him. That was a good choice you made, and that's why you were found easily. That's why you're alive. If you'd been just wandering out there fucking, well, something, I got to do something, at that point you're too weak to have done anything. You made your attempt. Your attempt didn't work. Okay, good realization. Stay put, and that's what got you out of there. Okay. It's it would be much harder for people to find somebody stranded if they're continuously moving in the bush. But you can't lose hope. You have to remember, that's what kept me going, was there somebody has to be looking for me. Yeah, they were. Our QSAR guys are always looking. At night, the heat gave way to biting cold. Temperatures dropped. So again, make sure you have your fire with you. Make sure you got your lighters with you. Make sure your vehicle has multiple lighters. You wake up shivering. I'm stuffing hay and grass in my pants to insulate. That seems totally weird to me. But maybe it worked, I guess. I don't know. Again, if you have that fire, you can be laying on top of hay and grass and try to angle your fire, or have like a rock wall behind your fire that's projecting the heat back to you. And then you can do pretty well there sometimes, laying out there, on top of getting yourself off the ground, but having the heat reflect back at you. He's out laying in the sun, and look what they did there, though. He made this nice help sign. He's got a little shelter even going on there, so that's pretty cool. I approve of that. Pretty awesome. So maybe you don't have great directional skills, or you're not very well prepared, but you did a couple things right, and that's why give yourself some credit. You are part of the reason you survived this. It's not just that people were looking for you, it's that you didn't give up. Or maybe you gave up and just sat there and waited. I don't know. Maybe it's one or the other. But it seems to me when you're out writing help with a bunch of shit on a rock, you're somebody who's trying to be seen still, and you haven't given up hope. And it sounds like he, by his own words, he didn't give up hope that people were still looking for him. They picked him up. He was in weak condition. It's not known if he would have made 24 or more hours. All he'd survived on was water, pond water. There is a lot of food out there in the bush, though, and we can talk sometime more about how to find things to eat in the wilderness. We know we've talked about it quite a bit on this channel. There is lots of things you can eat out there, particularly around bodies of water. But hey, if you're going out there and spending time out there ahead of time, it's really important that you have a grasp on those things. Don't take it lightly that you're going out there. For some of us, we do. But again, I have a lot of confidence that, no matter what happens, I'm getting home. I have that confidence, and for good reason. I've proven it. Okay, he was fortunate to be found when he was found. I was definitely on my last hours, he says, that's for sure. It doesn't sound good, but hey, good thing. You survived, dude. The result is what counts, man. Don't ever give up. Don't give up looking for them. Don't give up trying to survive. Don't give up hope. They are coming. Don't panic. The more you panic out there, the worse you're going to make it for yourself. Okay, friends, hit like, share, subscribe. Cariboo Weather Dude, I'm your guy.